I hope people are awake. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Please keep us motivated, my panelists. Uh, let me jump into this. Devika's just given us 30 minutes. So, and I've just kept one question for our esteemed panelists to try and give actionable information, to the emerging businesses here. But before we get into that, if you all could quickly give your background about 1.5 minutes, what you all are doing, what are your challenges, that would be nice to set context. So we'll start with the lady.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for making me a part of this wonderful discussion today. My name is Anusha Soni. To tell you my story very briefly of what I've done so far, my body of work, I've had a background in media, in different forms of media, digital, television, broadcast. And I've been a lifelong student of law. So that's something that took center stage in my life about a year ago. But what I still do predominantly with an interesting mix of law and media is try and narrate stories. So we do a lot of information, publicity, campaigning, work for different sectors which are non-traditional sectors, which include law, which include space tech, or the new companies which are now acquiring center stage in today's business world. So that's pretty much about it. If you'd ask me what really drives me as I move forward with my company, with my work, is that I really enjoy narrating complicated stories, because whether you call it marketing, advertising, or any other word, or information campaigns, it's essentially trying to connect to the people and try to tell a story that might resonate with them. So yes, thank you so much.
We'll have to do Twitter form stories because she's given us only 30 minutes. Shireesh.
All right, I'll go shorter. So I'm the Chief Business Officer and President of Open Network for Digital Commerce. For those who may not know, this is a digital public infrastructure in the series of Aadhaar, UPI, etc., created to enable commerce at scale. We currently experience e-commerce in confines of individual apps, some app for food, some app for fashion, some app for ordering for home, some app for B2B, and to create a single network of all buyers and sellers, and to enable profitable digital commerce growth for everyone. So that's the objective. My goal is, one part, to explain what ONDC is, and second part, and more importantly, on how business can be conducted. Marketing is one part of that. So I look forward to sharing a very different perspective on thinking about marketing in the context of an open network.
Utkarsh.
So I'll keep it much more shorter. Firstly, introducing from where I am. So I am representing India SME Forum, which is the largest organization for a not-for-profit basically for SMEs in India. And I would like to say that we are mother and father for the MSMEs in India today, that we guide them and handhold them to where they are scaling up today to amazing heights that they are. And what I do in India SME Forum is quite simple, that I build relationships with larger corporates or MNCs and build on how we can scale MSMEs and make them learn on how you can scale up your businesses ahead. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Devika's managed to bring us 3 experts who work across different companies, and they're just not going to share their story, but what they do with other companies and how they guide them. And I'm excited about that because I regard Businessworld, the media platform Businessworld that's hosting this, and not the Businessworld that she mentioned, but I regard us as a platform that brings examples, stories, use cases, to our audiences to help them, to enable them. There's a word up there, digital age, and when Devika sent it to me, I said, for me now, some of these things seem like the ice age. I've been hearing digital age, transformation, cloud, all of this for an extremely long time. Somewhere now we have to, as a community, get done with that word, because every time you say in the digital age, it seems like it's something that's 3 months old or a year old. Digital's been here for a very long time, and it'll just continue to evolve. There's AI, there's Gen AI, there's all of it that's accelerating ways that we live, the ways that we do business. Since this is a marketing session, and we want to talk about innovative marketing strategies, and since emerging companies, and I'm even seeing it with large organizations today, all marketing is very ROI driven over branding. I'm going to, I just have one question and then, I'd love to have more questions from the audience. So we'll take up follow-up questions here. But again, always ladies first. So we'll start with the lady. And, the question is that if you had to advise a emerging company on creating a marketing strategy, okay, and you want to go outside of digital, I'm kind of okay. You say, take full pages in Businessworld, nowhere else if you're saying print. So if you want to say do print, do television, whatever you want to, but what would be your recommendation to do a strategy that gives quick ROI, which is what everyone needs because the investor wants his money back literally today. These days I hear that they want 3 times return in the first year itself. But what would be your advice on getting proper ROI from a marketing strategy for a B2C brand? Now, this could be across sectors. You could give examples. Just one sector. The floor is all yours now, Anusha.
I think one of the biggest things for any company as the Indian economy becomes more and more organized, it is said that Indian economy is about 70% quote unquote informal. But I think that informal, the so-called informal, is really the backbone of Indian economy, and the entire government effort has been to make sure that more and more sectors become formalized in a certain sense. So in that way, you have a lot of new players, so-called new players, which are becoming a part of this marketing campaign, information campaign. Some of them very old companies now that I have working with me, who have been traditional players in the market, have never really played the social media game or the marketing game. But they do believe that visibility is very, very important for them. I do want to touch upon one aspect that was just mentioned, which is the return on investment, which is always seen as quick money generation, more sales, more money coming into your pockets. But ROI, in my understanding today, is also about visibility. Every particular brand in whichever sector you want to touch upon is facing a tough competition. It's not just from the established players. It's also from the new players which are emerging. It could also be from a niche brand. Take a clothing industry, take the beauty industry, or any other industry which is emerging as of this state. I believe visibility becomes very, very important and is a very critical aspect of return on investment that you're going to get. There are traditional set ROI strategies that can be done. But if I were to pick one thing, which I believe in today's day and age is very important, of course, keeping your target audience in mind. If you want to scale in tier 2 towns, your strategy is going to be very different. Tier 3 is going to be very different. Social media, of course, is a very, very important tool. But depending on your target audience, visibility, according to me, for return on investment is your first step that you really, really need to ensure.
Do you want to give a case study or something on visibility? Or
so without naming a certain company, but it's a very established music distributor in the country, which has run business for about 4 decades, and currently is facing an issue which is about their branding, promotions, and it's directly affecting their revenues. Why is it directly affecting their revenues? Because there is a stiff competition in the market, policy changes are happening right now. They want to ensure that their voice is heard with the right quarters of the government, but because they don't have the visibility, a lot of times they feel that their opinion on the table is not heard in the same way it should. So that particular brand, which is making a lot of money, which has no problem with the return on investments because it's a traditional setup business, but because they don't have visibility, they haven't played the social media game, they haven't adapted to this digital age, which I agree with him has been there for at least for the last 2 decades here right in front of us. They face a very, very tough time right now, and they have to play that game of being visible to the people who matter, because it's directly affecting their return on investment. So in my understanding, the lines between branding, marketing, storytelling, information campaign are very blurred today. You cannot, it's very, very difficult to distinguish one from the other depending on the sector you're working with. If I'm working for a law firm which wants to do something, wants to build an information campaign, you call it an information campaign, you don't call it marketing. But the lines are more blurred than ever. That's what I've seen in the last 4 to 5 years.
You said this was a music company and the target was the government.
The target is to ensure that their business model is understood by the stakeholders and also by the people. Because the perception crisis is not just at the level of the government, but also at the level of the people that are generating money for that.
Shirish.
So my take is that of late, people have been compelled to confuse sales and marketing. And this new term that has come up in recent times called performance marketing, it confuses me. I'm a career marketer. It has always been about performance. I was held accountable for the money I spent for the business that I drove. If you think about the P&L of a company, right, and a large part, I mean, I've worked in multiple sectors, but let me talk about the consumer products industry. Most of them, there are variations of course, will operate at roughly 20% of revenue being spent into driving that demand. That's an, if you now use modern terminology of ROS, that should be 5. For every money I spend, I should get 5 rupees of revenue. Right? And 1.5, 2 is being touted as success. That is not success. Then that means you're spending half the money in that. Also, a lot of money is being spent in the sales channel. There's a lot of digital spaces on which sales takes place, and brands are having to spend money there. That's a money spent in sales channel. That's not building awareness. Let me talk about visibility, since Anusha you mentioned. I was discussing with one of the brands, and I looked at how they market themselves on their own website. And they market the experience that they create. Then I went and looked at exactly the same product on one of the e-commerce marketplaces. First of all, the name was a garbled series of terms. It didn't make sense, right? But those are terms that the category searches with. Second, on the page, and this was a sponsored brand, so even on that e-commerce marketplace, they had spent money to be found early. At the top was their competitor at a price that was lower than that. So just out of curiosity, let me go check that. So the item I searched was 2,100 rupees. That item was 1,500 rupees. I clicked on that. A page of that brand opened up. At the top was a third brand for 1,200 rupees. So the sales channel is interested in closing the deal. The marketer is spending the money not on what the brand has to offer, but on the price they have. And e-commerce is driving people to be a price rather than a brand. So my first advice is be clear what is the brand or service you've created. And if you've created right, there is a market for it. Second, choose to spend in areas where the awareness for that is best. And sometimes it can be the provider. I'll narrate a couple of stories from our network. Our network is only 2 years old. I don't have many stories from the network, but let me narrate one. Namayatri is an often spoken brand on the network. They started auto rickshaws in Bangalore. Why did they succeed? Because they did two things. They said that we are a software provider, so we don't need to charge a commission, which will then create a gap between what the consumer pays and what the driver earns. We'll provide a software for a daily subscription fee, which means as the auto rickshaw does more rides, all that money goes straight to the auto rickshaw. Better value for that party. Because the driver is getting more money, there is no arguments about what is the fare. They are happy, the consumer is paying less, driver is earning more, everyone is happy. So you create a service that is of value and not a surprise that they took off like a rocket. So create a product or a service, first of all, that has material difference and you will have an uptake. Second, make sure that your audience is reached in the most efficient way. The sales channel could be one, need not be the only one. So don't let a sales channel compel you to spend all your money in the sales channel. Think about the pre-digital era. Did you spend all money in the stores? You didn't. You did spend some money in stores, some displays elsewhere, but you spend money talking to your consumers. So choose the best avenue. And for each brand, each sector, each category, it will be different. If you're a durable, if you're a fast-moving growth, if you're a service, your channel may be different. Talk to your consumers directly. Make sure you're investing in building the brand, because people come even to these places because you are a brand. And if you're a brand, then you can dictate terms. Even on the food platforms, there are a couple of food brands which will take over after the order that gets done. The food platforms don't deal with it. That's because they've built the brand. So build your brand that stands for something, invest in it. And then finally, yes, you need sales channels. And there are now mechanisms, and today is not a day to talk about ONDC, but ONDC is a way by which you can build your own channel at scale. And if you're interested, we can pick that up later. But look at profitability and look at investment in the right places. So marketing is about building awareness, building your brand, invest in it. That's very different from discounts and sales, which is what it gets confused with. One sentence, sir, for last answer. ROI is sustainable long-term ROI. If anybody is saying, show me result in 10 days, of course, the only way you'll probably have is to drop your price and show that result. That's not sustainable. So resist people who are demanding such short-term results and have them also participate in the long-term.
You know, very, very interesting, and I look forward to hearing from Utkarsh, but I just wanted to sum up what I'm hearing from two of them. And, you know, this is coming from where I sit. I'm with the media house, okay, and, you know, print is not going to give returns. So we've got print, we've got events, we've got custom solutions, we've got digital. But the pressure on all campaigns that's coming to us is how many leads are you generating, how many people are you, and I got off the call with what's possibly amongst the top three this morning with amongst possibly not even top five, the top three, one of the top three companies in the world. They're in India, they're a regular customer. And yaar, ROI kya milega isme se? So, but what you are saying, both of you are saying, is continue to work on brand, uh, create your visibility, keep these two a little separate. Wonderful. Utkarsh, you said you're working with tons of companies. What are you seeing? What are you advising them?
So firstly, I would like to break the stereotype saying that many believe that only B2C companies can create brand and do marketing. But that's not true. In reality, every B2B company, B2C company, D2C, or even a G2G needs brand presence. And almost what, in the MSME world, we are what, 40% of our manufacturers like dividend? And in that, every manufacturer is basically creating components for the larger anchor buyers or companies here. I mean, what if tomorrow one of these companies say, I want to change my buyer, I want to change my supplier, whatever. And tomorrow say that, probably I don't want anything from you because I have someone else. So what will you do then? I mean, it's a risk, right? How do you create a brand? So firstly, I think one advice would be trademark your business or trademark your product or service that you're actually selling to consumers, right? If it's a high quality, obviously. To this, I would like to also give an example. Today, how many of us are driving Mercedes here? Anyone? Yeah, I mean, do you know which audio system is being used in the car? No, but I would like to tell you, Mercedes highlights while selling its car, saying that, we use Burmester as our audio system. Did anyone know that? No, but today they sell that way. Why? Because Burmester has created and given high quality products to MSMEs or to anyone who is asking for it, right? Similarly, when we go back in the 20, 30 years or so back, we saw Kurlon being the market leader in mattresses, yes? But did we know anyone else? I don't think so. But today, take the era of digital era itself, how many brands do we know? Anyone would like to try? Yeah.
I saw a new brand, what I thought it called the Sleep Company a couple of days ago. I never heard of it.
I'll tell you a few more. WakeFit. I'm
Wakefit,
sure
Sleep
everybody's heard about it. WakeFit. Then you have Sleepwell Company, and the Sleep Company that today some of the other celebrities been creating ads on it, right? Why? Because they've inherited the new way of marketing basically, right? And what have they done? They've basically focused on targeting the right audience. Firstly, that. Then what they have done is created authenticity, right, over doing hard selling, what we used to do before. Over that, what they have given is content. They've asked video bloggers, created blogs, created so many avenues for their product today that they're selling in the right way. And most importantly, they have created consumer trust. How? Because if I am a buyer today, I would rely on another buyer. So people's trust, so people believe people more than what the ads would say, right? And then over and above, most importantly is data. If tomorrow my ad is not working somewhere or so, you can easily get that through your data which is being received, right, by the analysis that you do or the analytics team that you have. And you immediately remove the ad and you'll probably change the ad immediately and you throw it back again in the system. And that's how you'll know what is working and what's not. So these are few points that one needs to keep in mind while they're doing digital marketing in the new era. And more importantly is if you find the right connect and if you have the right product, you can sell.
Thank you. Before I move on, I've got a couple of other questions, but this session is more for y'all. So I'm happy to give up my questions and hand over. Do you all have any questions? If you all don't, then I'll come back. I'll ask them. No questions at this stage? Okay. I'm going to ask you a question which might be a little difficult to answer, and it obviously will have different responses depending on, the product, service, maturity of business. But, since both of you all said there has to be, all three of you said that there has to be a budget for, or, an effort into branding, visibility, and a different budget into what Shireesh correctly called sales. Is there a science, is there a split that any of you see that, X percentage be kept here, Y percentage be kept here? I know it's a tough question, but if you want to take a use case, an example, and give it, that would be great. Anusha, possible to start with you.
I completely agree with what the fellow panelists said, and I think one thumb rule that applies is that in today's time is never tell a buyer or your target audience, please buy my product. If you say that, they'll never buy it because I'm a consumer of a lot of products and somehow the trust gets affected. The moment you say, please buy my product, you have to say it in a different way. In today's day and age, you put a hoarding even of an established brand like iPhone, they won't say buy the product. I don't think that's a great strategy. But talking specifically about the MSME sector that the fellow panelists just mentioned, so a lot of companies are coming in. He mentioned about new brands which are emerging. If you were a relatively new brand, and I use the word relatively very consciously here, then you need to spend, I believe, more than 50% of your budget in branding, in positioning, your target audience. Data plays a very, very important role in today's age. There's a reason we say that data is the new gold, because then you know who exactly are you reaching. Access to the right data, understanding your markets, and establishing your story. If you're able to spend those budgets right in the initial stages, then the rest of the money and how that's spent in sales and other aspects of marketing, I don't think would be a great brainer. But to get the right brand story of what will resonate with people is something which any company in the beginning should focus, and depending on their risk appetite, you should spend as much money as you can in brand building and storytelling and what exactly are you bringing to the table.
But thank you. So that's half. Shireesh.
So it varies by industry, and even in the same industry, it can vary a lot by geography. I'll just give you three extremes. So if you think about high-end beauty care products, they're likely to be in the 70-80% gross margin. They will have shop-in-shops in malls. They will have beauty advisors. That's a high-cost way of selling. And so they will have that input, and plus they have to build the brand as well. If you go to regular premium products, they'll probably have gross margins in the range of 45-50. They can afford to spend 15 to 20% of the revenue in marketing at scale. They're mass premium or mass brands. And then you come to the economy section where gross margins might be as low as 30. And therefore you'll have very little in terms of marketing, and therefore you'll have to invest mostly in distribution. I can't share exact numbers, but in the time when I was in the snacks business and we compared the emerging market I was in Asia with parent company in the US, as a percentage of P&L, sales plus marketing expense was roughly about the same, 30%. But US being a much more mature market, it was largely spent in stores to get into the cart and get into the pantries at home. In Asia, because it was a developing market, much more was being spent in marketing. So same category, even same company, but a dramatically different percentage. So it really depends on what you want to invest in and where does your edge lie. If your edge lies in building a long-term relationship, it will be much more in marketing. If your edge lies in getting consumed, then a lot more may get sent in the sales one. Same with B2B. There are B2B products which require a fair amount of intense sell-in and require customization of the solution. The product may be same, but to explain to a B2B buyer as to how it fits them may require a person of a certain caliber, in which case you will invest in that sales force. Whereas if you largely have, not commodity, but let's say a fairly general consumption product, then you might not need to invest in such a high caliber field force. So it varies by company, by sector, and as I said, in the same sector it can. But it's important to benchmark. So benchmark and make sure that if you're over-investing versus your peer, then it's in an area where you have an advantage.
So I agree by sir here, Shireesh sir. But I guess moreover, what any B2C company or any company for a matter of fact, what they really need to do is see where your placements are, where you are placed in the market, whether you are the lone seller or one of the sellers in the market, and then probably create or build on relations, right, which is a necessity today, and create brand advocacy, right, which will inevitably help you in creating a sustainable growth for your business, right? And I would not like to number it down when you ask the question about giving a ratio on it, but digital marketing, when we do digital marketing for our clients or corporates or MNCs that we are working with, even now then we are working with the bigger giants of the world as well. Yeah, 45 rupees is the minimum that we spend. And to 120 rupees or 350 rupees, depending on what the requirement is. And it has to be clear. I mean, today we see ads on newspapers and everything that we see that, we want to call out for MSMEs down and, you have this event and that coming up. But same thing that you can do on digital, and you can actually create much more bigger audience and create a larger registration for your site, right? And what will be the cost for that? What, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, max to max 9 rupees, that will be steep down, right? That's where you need to spend. And you need to create that right target with the right vicinity, with the right analytics or the analysis done by the backend team.
No conversation these days, whether it's on the street or boardrooms, is complete without discussing AI, sustainability, Gaza, deportation, Trump, Delhi elections. But let's stay with AI. Very quick question. For all of you, your perspectives on the usage of AI in marketing. Helpful, not helpful? What's your recommendation?
Definitely a great tool, can never replace human creativity, can never replace human input. It increases and makes the cost of human intelligence and human creativity far more in the market, because the traditional job of typing, of researching, of finding information here and there can be done by AI. But what a human being will bring to the business of marketing, branding, content creation is sheer creativity and human genius. And I believe the value of it would increase with the advent of AI. It is definitely a game changer.
So I see, and again I'm coming from a commerce lens, I see AI playing a role in many legs of the commerce journey. Let's start with the user end. Right? When we shop, we've been now trained by e-commerce to enter a search term. That has its own advantages, because in a simple text-based search, that works very well. But when we go to shop, our actually conversations are far more complex. First of all, we do not need to know excruciating detail about the product to be able to say the way the entries come, right? So if I were buying a bottle of water, I would not necessarily say 100 ml bottle, 5 mm thick, glue cap. I don't give those descriptions. I just eyeball it and I get it. And the shopkeeper might say, I don't have the medium sized bottle, I have too small, is that okay? So there's a modification that has taken place. That's how real shopping takes place. You have completely switching fields. A farmer might be growing sugarcane in Saranpur, he has white hands. He does not know the name of the chemical, so he can't search for that insecticide to solve it. He will say, white hand problem in sugar, what do I do? An answer should come back. There are times when we base on a previous search. If you'll allow me, when a woman goes to buy a sari, the shopkeeper might say, what's your budget? Or what's the occasion? He might say, okay, it's a wedding reception of my sister and my budget is 10,000. What type? And you'll suddenly now go into, okay, do you want a Kanjivaram, Banarasi? You'll go into that. Let's say he puts out one. You might say, this blue is a little too dark, I want slightly outer, and the border should be a little broader. Now the next search is based on a previous search result. That's how we shop. But no search system today allows that. And I'm hoping that AI is able to take us away from this artificial text-based, algorithm-based, software engineered search into a much more human form. So I hope search becomes far more human with AI. Similarly, on the shopkeepers end, to enable them to digitize their catalog, express it, becomes far simpler, because they do not have the ability to explain each and every product. And so to help them at the other side. Likewise, from an efficiency standpoint, and I'll stop here because there are many more uses. So how do you get the entire system of delivery from multiple locations, multiple buyers, multiple requirements to become efficient? I think AI can play a huge role in every sector, and literally every day new users are coming up. Those to me are far better than some of the apps that I see that are coming up first. I hope we get past that soon and get to the real useful stuff.
I think AI is your buddy standing or teacher standing right beside your arm. I mean, that's how it should be defined as, because everything you ask to it, it has an answer, but it's quite dangerous at the same point in time. Because if you're talking somewhere in a meeting, or probably in a board meeting, and you have your phone aside, probably that has not been a discussion on paper still, but it still has the information, right? But at the same point in time, if you have a defined knowledge about what you need to get through from AI, that is the right way to get it. I mean, that would be the right way that AI is helping you. And we used to use this long time back as well. I mean, 40 years back as well, when we were using computers, I guess that's when AI was actually, in the talks. But then now that digital marketing has been one of the booming eras that we're working on, we actually can see it. Because earlier also we used to do searches online, that was all AI. There was nothing that Google had, everything back end is AI, right? And everything front ending you is also an AI.
Thank you, folks. Thank you to all of you. A lot of, this branding thing's coming back to my mind because all I hear all day is, yeah, you're taking money from me. What is the ROI? So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.